Welcome to Trash Talk, a podcast by Zero Waste Canada. I'm your host, Alistair McCallum. I moved to Canada in 2017 from England, and I've since held a variety of roles in the waste industry, and currently sit on the Zero Waste Canada board. On this podcast, we will dive deep into the world of zero waste and the circular economy, speaking with change makers who are helping to lead us to a more waste-free, sustainable planet. Okay, Trash Talk is back for the end of the year, our last one, 2025. We have a great guest lined up. So yeah, tell us who you are.
Hi, Alistair. So my name's Evan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Scrapp. We're a waste data tracking and communication software that helps organizations of different sizes track and reduce and communicate their waste disposal.
Amazing. Yeah, so tell us your background in waste and kind of, what led you to founding Scrap.
I think for a lot of people in the waste industry, it's one of those that you don't necessarily start your career in, but you
Yeah.
come across it, and once you're stuck with it, you're there for good. But I started it as, funnily enough, a university project in 2019, where we were studying a sustainable engineering course, and we got presented with a challenge. You either write a 5-page report on a green technology that you like, or you try and solve an environmental and social problem for the chance of winning $30,000 to develop the idea further. Now, as some pretty broke college kids, you can imagine that was a difficult decision. But we had to think of this problem that we were going to solve. And we were looking around our bins and we were seeing these plastic bags in the recycling bin that we knew that shouldn't be there. So we wanted to get to the root of that problem and try and solve it, right? And so we started
Mm.
asking questions. Why do people recycle incorrectly? And we did a bunch of research with individual consumers to figure out what it was. And the root was it was a lack of information. So statistically, 8 out of 10 of us recycle incorrectly. So we needed to find a way of educating people quickly on how to dispose of their waste. So we developed a barcode scanning app where you scan the barcode of a product anywhere in the world and it tells you how to recycle it based on your local rules. That was 6 years ago. We've now evolved a lot as a business from there, but that was really the first introduction to waste. And spoiler, we didn't win the $30,000, but we did get invited to Washington, D.C. to meet with the EPA and present at the America Recycles Fair. And they said, hey guys, you're onto something, keep building. And that was how I started my waste career.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a good thing to kind of get involved in because, recycling is different everywhere. So even within the cities, like I'd be in the office sometimes and I can recycle coffee cups, and I can't at home kind of thing. It's always different. So it's a good kind of area to get involved in and needs a lot of help, which is good kind of area to kind of focus on for sure. Um, so what does Scrap kind of do currently, and kind of what companies are you working with, and any kind of data you can share on what impact you're having with those companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I mentioned the app, right, we got really good at building out a barcoded database with associated packaging types, materials. And then we also got a really good understanding of what local recycling rules there are. Because if you're scanning a barcode somewhere, you've got to know what it's made of and then what to do with it in your location. So then we realized that consumers didn't want to pay for a free recycling app. But for businesses to be able to unlock insights on their material flows and their waste streams at the barcode level, when you scale it up across purchase orders of 10,000 or 15,000 across global markets, it's a very attractive offering because they can then find ways of looking at where waste is being generated in their business and look at how that they can make reductions with better insight. As we know, the waste industry really suffers with a lack of data. So we're trying to bring that in a realm of the industry that doesn't really get too much of a look in at the moment, which is in the upstream area. So you're looking at procurement data, of purchase orders, invoices, receipts, delivery notes, high quality, high velocity data, what's coming into the business, and then using our digital tools to then appropriately educate and engage people on how to correctly dispose of them. Types of organizations we've worked with include Microsoft. We are launching with Miami-Dade in January. So that's a big area of folks who want to educate their customers, or sorry, educate their citizens on how to go zero waste properly and using our digital tools to do that. In terms of impact metrics that we're looking to share, So for every scan or search that's done through our platform, we remove one plastic bottle from nature through our partners at Plastic Bank, and that's all tracked on the blockchain. And the way it works is how we like to think is the 1 + 1 = 3 model, where you do one good deed, compound it with another, and then that inspires you to go tell somebody else. And so there's that three. But the idea is you scan and search something, you're doing good for the planet in that way. You're getting rewarded by getting a personal offset. And through Plastic Bank, we've now been able to remove over 180,000 plastic bottles this year from nature.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's a great news story. Yeah, I guess do you find like people engage more knowing their actions are doing good? Like there's some data I think around people see a positive message, they react better than if it's like the world's ending type thing. So do you find that is improving engagement with your app?
Yes, yeah. So when we first started, we did a lot of research on the behavioral science of why people recycle,
Yeah.
right? And that positive reinforcement, those little gentle nudges, were really good movers of the needle. What's interesting is we did actually try gamify Scrap in the really
Mm.
early days. So every scan and search you did, you got these points, and they could be redeemed for sustainable products, goods, or services. And unfortunately, the spike of engagement went up very quickly at the beginning, but then it petered off very quickly
Yeah.
because it's a new learned behavior. And what was more interesting was that when we started to ask people what motivates them to recycle, they were just donating their points to charity every time. Their motivators were more altruistic. It wasn't about this transactional feeling, which kind of tarnishes that feel-good factor.
Mm.
So it was really interesting to see from the kind of consumer but psychology side of it that the engagement was really in positive messaging. It was in using more social levers like leaderboards, quizzes, polls that didn't bring that transactional value that would mean that people would still want to engage with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's good to have that kind of storytelling aspect is good. People really want to be part of a bigger picture, right? So it's good to have that kind of
Exactly.
background and data research to kind of drive it forward. Yeah. So what are the future goals for Scrap? What's next on your list of areas to get involved in or countries to kind of go into? Yeah, what's next for you?
So at the moment, we're really just focused on the Canadian, US, and UK market. That's where
Yeah.
our core customers are at the moment. We've got big updates coming early next year with multi-languages. So speaking about motivations to recycle, languages is a big one. If you can communicate properly, waste is very complicated, packaging is very complicated. We've now built out our system so it's being translated at the moment into 27 different languages, and that'll be coming next year. So those are the kind of the big things for accessibility that we really want to kind of double down on because we think that's going to be the biggest way of getting mass adoption in those markets that I've mentioned. But then long term, we've got some really exciting rollout projects that are happening, like Miami that I mentioned, and we've got some other work that's being done now on our software to make it an even more streamlined process from production to development, so we can get feedback quickly. People are always asking questions about these new packaging materials that are coming on the market. Like these seaweed bags are fantastic, but like, how does that influence the waste stream?
Mm.
We're building out our system now to be able to make those updates in real time, so then people don't get confused as much because it's accurate.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, like I guess with physical signage, items always changing. So having that kind of digital interface where you can update what items go where like quicker, that's a great
Yeah.
kind of plus point to have because confusion kind of reigns when items always changing where they go. So having that kind of app, that kind of scannable barcode you were saying, that's a good option to help people understand what goes where and if things change, it's a very quick change for the interface, right? So yeah, good point to bring up. So you mentioned like going into consumer waste reduction. You had a report coming out in terms of how to reduce waste as a consumer and what avenues there are to reuse or reduce or recycle. Can you mention more about that and what your kind of key findings have been from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we post an annual report, and this year we wanted to make it a bit different. So we've always taken more a consumer-led approach to the waste crisis. While we don't believe it is the consumer's fault, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are having to make sure we put it in the right bin.
Yeah.
So over the month of October, we spent a month reducing the amount of waste that we were producing. So it was actually the actual question we were answering was, can you reduce your weight out of the waste crisis or can you recycle it?
Mm,
So I was on the reduce team and I had to say no to as much packaging as I possibly could, use reusable options everywhere I can. It was a really interesting way for me to understand, is it convenient to actually try and minimize my waste? Mikey, my co-founder, he was on Team Recycle, but the caveat is he couldn't use his own recycling bin. So he was having to collect all of this waste and track it, but then figure out, okay, if I live in a country that doesn't have waste infrastructure, which there are a lot of countries in the world that don't, how can we feasibly get our way out of this problem if you have to manually go and recycle it yourself? So he was going up, grinding down glass bottles and doing all of that fun stuff with his waste to try bring light to the fact that we could do take our waste infrastructure for granted in more developed nations because it's just
mm,
something that's always has been, right? So it's something
yeah.
we've always been able to rely on. So that was really what the study was, and it was over that month period we upset a lot of partners, I think, in the process, and family members having to collect everything because we were going through. But the goal, the insights that we were able to generate was really interesting. So I was able to consume 17.5% of the average European consumption of waste, which again, I was replacing it with reusable trays whenever I was going out. If I did do takeout, I was on the move a lot. So I had reusable water bottles, reusable coffee cups. I would look for zero waste alternatives where I could. Things like I know some brands out there have these reusable pods now for like shampoo bottles, for
Mm,
example.
yeah.
I think I tried everything. You can check it out on our Instagram, like the sort of stuff that I came across. Um, what was interesting though is what was interesting for me over that time frame was that my waste reduced from week one to week four by 40%.
Mm,
So by nature of having to think about my waste a lot more and keeping it top of mind, over time, I was getting better and better at reducing my waste. And so it really taught me from the consumer behavior standpoint is if you are constantly just day by day working on it to get better and better, and it stays top of your mind, you can actually really move the needle with your waste consumption. For Mikey, though, had a much higher footprint, naturally, because he's based in America, I'm based in Europe. And it's a lot harder for him. A lot more single-use packaging options are there and available for him,
yeah.
whereas I have zero waste stores in the city I'm in. He's got a dog. His pet dog produces a lot of food waste and like packaging. So it was really interesting. More of it, less of it was habit based, and it was more events based. Right? It was I could get my whole week thrown off because we had a party or something like
Mm,
that.
yeah.
But as long as you're trying to find these alternatives, you can actually really make a difference.
Yeah. It's good to hear. Yeah. I guess going back to your like top of mind comment, do you think from week 1 to 4 you got into new habits and then were thinking less about reducing? So like week 1 you were looking to find these new vendors, new partners, like whatever it is to like reduce your waste. Do you think by week 4 you had like almost set a new routine for yourself and it was almost like becoming second nature?
Yeah, oh, massively. It's really interesting, like little things, like you always make sure that you've got a reusable cup and a reusable water bottle in your bag at all times.
Mm, yeah.
And then getting into the habit the night before, being like, oh, is it clean? Great, it's
Mm,
not. Cool. I'm gonna make sure I clean it. Stuff like that, it just became second nature. And now I'm pleased to say that some of those habits have stuck, where I'm now like,
yeah.
okay, I now always have a reusable container on me at all times. And I wasn't doing that before the challenge,
Yeah.
which I think was interesting. And I also do look at zero waste alternatives. Like, I literally just yesterday, I was going to the thrift store a lot more now by nature of just thinking about it. And I bought this wrapping paper actually. So go like here's a little thrift store tip for you. Um, going to you can buy like really cheap old newspapers, and then if you
Okay.
decorate them, I know the blurred background's really not helping me here. Decorate them with Christmas stuff. And dude, that was like not even 10 cents, I think. It's like, stuff like that, where it's you got to be creative, you got to think outside the box. But at the end of the day, that's how we're going to solve this waste challenge, right? This waste crisis that we're in.
Yeah.
You've got to start thinking of waste more as a resource, and that's ultimately how we're going to move the needle for consumers.
Yeah, good points. I think yeah, there's options out there, but I think yeah, that it's difficult to find in some countries and cities versus like European mindset. I think is a bit yeah more advanced, let's say. So it's good to hear there's options available, but then the question is yeah, how do we scale up and make them become more widespread? So going back to your results, so what surprised you the most, and what was the most difficult thing for you to kind of change your mindset or your old routine on?
Ooh. I think being on the move, so a lot of people travel for work, right? When you're on
Yeah,
the move, it's a low priority item. And
yeah,
even as somebody who was doing this as a challenge, I really had to like concentrate because you think coffee cups are a prime example where it's like if you don't have your cup, you're taking a coffee cup, disposable one,
yeah,
because you're not going to forego a coffee because you're either tired from the day before and you want to stay caffeinated to do your job well, whatever it might be. There's a lot of these external factors that influence our waste decisions. And unfortunately, convenience has always taken over. Like it was more inconvenient for me and we did track this as a data point, which is being the report of like what was more convenient, making sure that we were using all of this, like reusable Tupperware and cups that were available to us, or
yeah.
just taking the single use option. And every time the single use is easy, right? So I think for me, that was the biggest kicking that habit was hard. And also the guilt that comes with it. I know I'm doing it as a challenge, but I was like, damn, I didn't need this at all. And there were times like in one of the evenings, it was really late. I had a work event that had gone way over. I'd missed the catering that the event had, and I was like, right, I'm driving home. I've got to pick up something to eat. And the only thing that's open at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night is a Mackie D's. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so are you going to forego eating a meal just to minimize a bit of your waste? Probably not. So I think that was an interesting one for me, just being able to prioritize it better because for so long we don't think about waste. Even as people in the industry, I'm not sure about yourself, but I know for me, I'm like, yeah, we've got this business that does this, but I'm still in my mind like, well, my convenience is number one at the end of the day because I've got to do my job to help like kind of keep things moving.
Yeah, it's a key theme, convenience, like yeah, based on previous podcast guests who have reuse like companies and frameworks in place. It's I think like one of the like main things is making it convenient for consumers. Yeah, because the old methods of, pay, take, use, trash kind of thing,
Yeah.
that's ingrained in people's minds. And I think from what I hear, there's a lot of progress being made on that convenience aspect with these reuse programs coming into place. So hopefully, yeah, it becomes easier, less friction.
Mm,
And from what I hear, that's happening in some of these cases. So that's yeah, good news story is there's progress. But yeah, like you were saying, like the convenience of like let's say fast food, you aren't going to get reusable containers from most of those well-known chains right now. But maybe there's a future where that's possible. But we'll wait and
mm.
see on that.
I,
Yeah,
I will add actually on one of the you'll see on one of the Instagram videos that we did. We posted daily of the whole challenge, and I went to one of my local curry houses from when I was growing up, and they loved the idea that I was like, guys, do you mind if I bring my reusable container? And they were like, oh, of course, yeah, it's good for the planet, and it means we don't have to pay to give
yeah,
you packaging and all of that. And there's like this cost side of it which we don't really think about too much. One thing I'll mention is we did a fight like we're doing the financial analysis on the cost of waste reduction. Now, if Mikey was able to minimize his waste to my levels, he would have saved over $300 a year just on waste hauling fees alone.
wow,
Which for a household, that's not nothing, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's one of those where, yes, in the short term, the convenience piece is clear, but then it's like, okay, how does that extrapolate over a year, over 5 years? Is there ways that you could actually like not incur those costs because they've just been reframed slightly differently?
Yeah, the cost thing's a very good point. Like that's why I've got a job basically because people don't look at that enough. And yeah, like as someone from a zero waste lens like myself, there's a lot of cost savings in zero waste, and even just being better with waste, like not even zero waste, just like you've got a dumpster being serviced too much, for example. Let's put a monitor on it. Those kind of small wins are there, and then if you add in, yeah, less procurement, you're having like less items coming onto your sites by purchasing, you spend less taking off-site through disposal as well. So there's so many things to think about that can save money. Um, but yeah, that kind of mindset I think is it's not quite ingrained over here yet. It's a more European thing I would say right now, but
Mm.
it gives me yeah employment right now, so I don't want to complain too much. But I think at least what I'm seeing, people are more aware of these opportunities now with waste, and yeah, companies want to see improvements in their output and their bottom line. So I think for myself, I can say, hey, here's a zero waste initiative. It's going to save money. That gets people's kind of like ears open, eyes open, kind of thing. So that's a good avenue for myself to yeah keep
Mm.
building up the zero waste pathway in companies. So opportunity is there, like you're saying. Um, kind of closing off then, so we both agree that consumers aren't the kind of problem here, but they're the ones, yeah, who are having to do the right thing where they can, and yeah, make sure it's convenient for themselves and so on. But what would your message be to consumers who are looking to reduce their waste? And then second part of the question is, where can they learn more from your findings when it's released?
So my key takeaway is it's not as inconvenient as you think, right? Like we were talking about earlier, from week 1 to 4, my waste went down quite a lot. And that's because I was optimizing my lifestyle for zero waste. It just took a little bit of time, right? Bit
Yeah.
by bit. And I think that's like when you go on a fitness journey, right? You look at your target of where you want to get to. It's not like an overnight thing. I mean, no, I mean if there was an Ozempic equivalent for the waste industry, maybe that would be different. But it takes time to get to those goals. And so I think being patient is a big one. Remaining um, clear on how you want to get there that is convenient. Because ultimately, if you go to 0 to 100 too quickly,
Mm,
you break your habits and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to bother anymore. It's just too inconvenient. But you really can make a difference just by going bit by bit. Um, like if you told me a year ago that I'd be hand making Christmas wrapping paper, I would have laughed at you, but here I am. So it's one of those where behavior change does happen, but it's just really gradual. And I think when you understand the things that you can do directly, way easier to contextualize the impact you're having. I mean, even just you can jump on some chat GPT and just figure out, hey, if I just reduce my waste by this much, how much am I actually making a difference?
yeah.
Be surprised with the results, I think. So I'd say that, and the report that we're bringing out is coming out at the end of this year. So right before Christmas, we are gearing it up to show all the different findings in the report. You can go on our Instagram and you'll see every day we've made posts of our different experiences being team reduce or team recycle. But that will have deeper insights on looking at the financial costs, the social costs, the environmental benefits that have come from going zero waste. Because that's one other thing I might add actually. It's not as expensive as you think either.
Mm,
If
yeah.
anything, I know in Europe, I don't know how this translates over the pond, but there's a lot of incentives for like, hey, if you bring a reusable cup, you get 50 cents or $1 off your purchase, whatever it might be. So there's definitely these little levers in place that you can use.
Yeah, there has been some initiatives like that. I know some chains have offered like 20 cents discount type of thing for reusable cups and so on. So there is, yeah, a growing trend, I think, in that direction. I wanted to add too that I think habits are contagious. So I think for myself, being like zero waste minded, I'm hopeful that I've influenced other people to do certain things. And I think yeah, even like trying one or two things to be more zero waste and more eco-friendly, let's say, um, and you see an impact, you can like, share with other people in your family or friends and so on. It can help grow the movement type of thing. So I think that's yeah, one thing I'll add. Awesome. Evan, thanks for your time today. It was great to discuss your findings and what Scrap is doing. And yeah, thanks again for being here.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.